I'm one of them, and many other people as well are doing a lot to help people understand life really is eternal. You don't have to worry about all of this. Important experience. But people who have near-death experiences never actually die. And we know they don't die because the silver cord, which attaches the person, is the consciousness of the person to the body, never breaks. It can't be reattached, so therefore, if it doesn't break, they haven't died. All right, my name is Roberta Grimes. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I have spent more than 50 years studying death and the afterlife. So I know quite a lot about what actually happens when we go to the next stage. And I'm happy to answer all your questions. I had an experience of light when I was 8 years old, which helped me know that there is something beyond. Now, a near-death experience is a very important experience, but people who have near-death experiences never actually die. And we know they don't die because the silver cord, which attaches the person, is the consciousness of the person to the body, never breaks. It can't be reattached, so therefore, if it doesn't break, they haven't died. What they do is to astral travel for a while. Their body is close to death, so therefore it can't support life. Therefore, they travel in the astral plane. And they have wonderful experiences, but they don't actually die. But when we do die, and we all will do that, we have some very consistent experiences. Life is, when life here ends, the things that happen to us are remarkably consistent all over the world. The same series of things will happen to all of us. And I have studied what those things are. And I can explain to you what death is, how it happens, and where we go next. Because I've studied it, as I say, for more than 50 years. And it's quite wonderful, quite wonderful. Very exciting as well. It's very exciting. Best time of your life, actually. You wouldn't believe it, but it's true. When I was 8 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night. Actually, it was about 4 in the morning, I think. And I realized there was no God. I just knew I knew there was no God. And I was terrified. Oh my goodness, there's no God. I was scared to death. And then there was a brilliant flash of light in the room. Just like burning magnesium, very bright. And a voice said, "You wouldn't know what it is to have me if you didn't know what it is to be without me. I will never leave you again." Oh, I thought, how wonderful. If you forget there's a God, they remind you. And I went back to sleep. But it says that experience is as vivid to me now as it was when I was 8. Now I'm a whole lot older than 8 at this point. So obviously that really stuck with me, right? That was a very, very vivid experience. But I wanted to know where that light came from, and I certainly wanted to know where that voice came from. So I spent my whole life trying to understand that experience. And I eventually did come to understand it. In fact, people in the Bible had that experience. Moses with the burning bush. Moses was confronted by a bush that burned, but was not consumed, and a voice from the bush said, "Take your shoes off your feet because the place where you're standing is holy ground." And when right after Jesus died, he spoke to a persecutor of the early Christians, and he said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? He said it out of a light. It's a very rare experience, but it's happened to others, not just to an 8-year-old kid. But that voice led me to do all the research I ended up doing. Who was the voice? It was my spirit guide. And it led me to do all my research and all the things I did. It leads me today to do the research I'm doing. But yeah, that was a big experience for me, I must say. And it was the light was in the room. It was a real light. In fact, I remember all the toys and stuff that I had. I remember the awful wallpaper because the light was real. Quite amazing experience. But anyway, so I did all this research. I read the Bible cover to cover repeatedly. I ended up majoring in early Christian history to try to understand, what was in the Bible and try to understand the Christian religion better. And what I ended up with was a very good understanding of what happens to us at death. The near-death experience is an important experience, but it doesn't tell us really anything about death because, as I say, people who have NDEs don't actually die. They instead have out-of-body experiences, which are very interesting, but they're not actual death. Actual death is an interesting process, which, as I say, all of us will go through that process. And it's very consistent from culture to culture and all over the world. And it's nothing to fear. It's a very beautiful experience, actually. And I can explain the process to you. People who go through it do see loved ones who've come to bring them home, and as death actually approaches, people are not afraid. In fact, all fear goes away, all pain goes away too. Even if they've been dying in pain, the pain goes away. It's quite a beautiful experience. Because, as I say, near-death experiences are not related to death. They don't tell us anything about actual death. There's something that happens to people whose bodies are in distress for some reason. Maybe they're very sick or traumatized or something, and so because you are an energy body which is inside your material body. The real you is an energy body. And if your physical body is stressed and in distress, it will sometimes cast your energy body out because it can't support it temporarily. And your energy body will remain attached to your physical body by the silver cord, which is actually a term which is from the Bible. Your silver cord is a very elastic energy cord. It's bluish. If you can see it in sunlight when you're out of your body, and it's very stretchy, and it's made of light, really. If it gets severed, you can't reattach it, so you are dead. But most of us travel out of body almost every night. We leave our body, we sit around in our bedroom, or we travel astrally and just go have adventures in the astral plane. And that's normal. We do it all the time. And that's, if we remember those experiences, that's an NDE as well. The term near-death experiences was coined by Raymond Moody because it seemed to him that we were near death if we were outside of our bodies. But it's an unfortunate term in a way because it's not related to death. But I can talk about what it is like to actually die, how that works, how it feels, and what happens when you actually die and go home. If you'd like me to, I'd be happy to do that. NDEs commonly happen if your body is stressed for whatever reason, and or having an operation or something, then your consciousness will travel outside of your physical body, and it may be aware while it's doing that, and so it'll have interesting experiences outside of your physical body. And if it remembers them, it'll report on what those experiences have been. Sometimes it goes into the next room, sometimes it will travel farther than that. But they're not related to death. They have to be able to get back into that silver cord has to stay attached to the body, or else they cannot get back into their body. Their body will die. What keeps the body alive is the fact that the silver cord remains attached to the physical body. The point is, they see beings, they identify them as gods or as people. They identify them as whatever, but they have all kinds of weird experiences. They sometimes believe they're in hell or in negative places. About 1 in 7 NDE experiences is very negative, but they're not in those negative places. That's the point. There is no. They sometimes think they see God, but they don't. God never appears as physical. That the whole point is there is no such thing as a near-death experience in any real place that is heaven or hell, because you can't go to the afterlife in a near-death experience and come back. If you have a near-death experience that's extensive, you'll sometimes go to a place, go to sort of see a sign or encounter a person who will say, stop. If you go farther, you will enter where the dead are. And if you do, your silver cord will sever and you will never be able to go back. You will die. If you enter where the dead are, you will die yourself. And you shouldn't do that because you have more life to live. So people then turn back and they don't keep going. There is a real afterlife which you can't enter if you're having a near-death experience. So anybody who's able to talk to you about their near-death experience has never died. If they've come back, they did not actually die. It's not possible to return if they have actually died. That's just a fact.
So what happened in the other side?
What happens on the other side? Well, if you actually die, it's a very similar process for all of us. Wherever you are in the world, it's a very, very similar process. People who are approaching death go through very, very, very similar steps. As they get closer to death, very often they have a period of what's called terminal lucidity. They start to get better. You know, they had Alzheimer's disease. Their brains were totally fried. They couldn't talk, they couldn't think, they couldn't do anything. They were maybe even unconscious. And suddenly, within a couple days before they die, they'll sit up in bed and talk to you. This is a very common phenomenon of people who are dying. and science can't explain it. This is one of the signs death is very close, is terminal lucidity. And this is something people don't understand, but this is very common. And we can understand it though, because it means that your body is separating from your mind, so that you're able to talk to your suddenly you have your mind back. And it's a beautiful time, because let's say your grandpa has been out of it for a while. His brain was fried. He totally was out of it. But you can suddenly talk to him again. Grandpa, you're back with us. And it's a very precious time. But then when they get closer to death, they start, your body starts to gather in your chest, your energy body, the part that is going to leave, starts to gather in your chest. And at that time, people that the person who is dying used to know will often appear in the upper corners of the room. And this is really beautiful, because the person who's dying will start to talk to them. They'll say, "Hey, there's Uncle Fred." And they'll be talking to them. They'll often stop talking to the person in the room when they see these people who have come for them. And that's another exciting time, because when let's say you're the person dying, when you start to see the people who have come for you, you know you're going to be fine, because this person you haven't seen in 30 years looks young, they look healthy, they look happy, they look beautiful, and there they are. I mean, there are examples of people like Steve Jobs, who the head of Apple, when he died, suddenly he was talking to people. He was very excited. It's a beautiful time. But then, as I say, they gather in their chest, and then they leave, and it looks like a mist. They leave their body, and that mist rises, and then it disappears. But what happens is the energy is rising, and its energy is rising, and the people in the room can no longer see it. But the people who can see it are the people who have come to take that person away. So if you're the person who is leaving, it's reunion time. And sometimes it's a party all around the bed of people that you haven't seen in 30 or 40 years, and they look great. And there's a lot of hugging and fun. But if you're the people around the bed who love that person, it's very important you let that person go, because you don't want them to pay attention to you. You don't want to say, "Oh, he's dying," and try to hold them, because you'll lower their vibration, and maybe then they will stop being able to see the people who've come for them. So just let them go. It's a very precious time when those people are around the bed, welcoming the person you love to go with them. Because guess what? The place they're going is right in the same place where you are now. It's all in the same place. So what happens is the vibration of the people leaving just rises. And right in the same place where you are now, there's a new reality, just at a higher vibration. And so the vibration of those people just rises, and the room around them where they have died, the silver cord breaks, and the room around them just starts looking vague and vapory, and right all around them, a whole new reality opens up. The easiest way for you to understand it is think of your mind as a TV set. Right now, it's tuned to the material reality channel. You're picking up the material reality channel. All this material reality around you, just a TV channel. You're just picking this up. But if you tune to a slightly higher channel, channel 3. Right now it's on channel matter, which is channel 0, let's say. If you tune to channel 3, there's a whole new reality right in the same place you are now. And it picks up a beautiful new reality right in the same place. Isn't that beautiful and amazing? And around the person who has died, this beautiful new reality opens up. And it's beautiful. And if that person has died in the United States, what they see is a gorgeous garden full of flowers that are as tall as a man and beautiful trees. And there are mountains in the distance, that's the Rocky Mountains. And there are buildings, it's just gorgeous. Now, let's say the person has died in Vietnam. What they'll see around them is the scenery of Vietnam, only it'll be beautiful and perfect because, the only one that I have heard about is China. They see these pagodas and, with the upturned pagoda corners and stuff. But I bet that there is a beautiful Vietnam-looking afterlife that the people who die there will see around them. And that's what death is like. It's like changing channels, and you don't go anywhere because all it is a higher vibratory rate of consciousness right in the same place. Does that make sense to you? Can you envision that? That's exactly what death is. That's how it feels to you. And it's beautiful. And it smells beautiful. And it sounds beautiful, beautiful music. And it feels beautiful and it's full of love. It's rich with love. It's so wonderful. There's no sun. It's just beautiful. That's how it is. The thing about everyone has a spirit guide. In fact, some of us have several spirit guides. Let's say you decide you take up playing the piano, you probably will have a piano guide. Take up writing fiction, take up dancing, whatever. You'll have a guide just for that. But we all have a guide who's our spirit guide from before, who helps us plan our lifetime and as our guide throughout our life. The easiest way to meet your guide is to first say to your guide, please go outside my body so I'll be able to try to recognize your voice separate from my thoughts. And your guide will usually go to behind your dominant shoulder. My guide, I'm left-handed, so my guide goes to behind my left shoulder. I didn't recognize that I knew I had a guide, but I was not routinely communicating with my guide till I was in early 60s. I was busy with my life, and then I decided I wanted to talk to my guide. So the first thing I did was say, please go behind my dominant shoulder, and then I could talk to. And then the second thing is, tell me your name. You usually will have a guide who is opposite gender. So women will have a male guide, men will have a female guide, not always, but often. And so my guide chooses to have me call him Thomas. So I call him Thomas. And you start out by asking him a simple question. It can be something like, have we ever had a lifetime together? usually a yes or no question. It turns out we have had 17 lifetimes together. And he won't immediately give you an, it's hard. You have to be able to recognize your guide's voice. And they whisper, it's not loud. So you ask the question, and then then you ask it before you go to sleep. And then first thing in the morning, listen and see if there's an answer behind your left shoulder, or right shoulder if you're right-handed. And it'll be a very soft answer, but it'll be distinctive. It won't be your voice. It'll be in a different voice. And you've got to be patient, because it can take a month or two before you really, of trying to do this before it really works. Sometimes you have to, you think you're imagining it, but just take the first thought that's there and say, oh, you said 17. I'm going to take that. And then you run with it. But now we have all kinds of conversations. I rely on my guide so much for all kinds of help. And I don't think I could function without him at this point. But it's very helpful. But you're getting the help even though you don't think you are. You're especially if you're working in this field. If you're working in the field of education about the afterlife, if you're working in a field that you had planned to, before you were born to work in, the thing about God is that God kind of permeates the afterlife, but God is never physical. God is spirit, and the spirit of God is everywhere in the afterlife. You become sort of like God is the air. You become very used to just being aware of God all the time when you're in the afterlife, which is a very comforting feeling, very comforting. But the thing is, most people, the afterlife is layered. So the lowest layer of the afterlife is what Jesus called the outer darkness, where there's wailing and gnashing of teeth. It's the negative area. No being but ourselves will put us there. But if we can't forgive ourselves for something we did to someone else, say during our lifetime on earth, we'll end up putting ourselves there. And it's hard. You can't get out on your own. And so it's very unpleasant. But there's no hell, but we can put ourselves in the outer darkness. Then there's a recovery area above that, and then levels 3 through 5 are what the Vikings called the Summerland, which is where we enter. Almost everybody enters the afterlife at level 3. Levels 3, 4, and 5 are beautiful. As I say, it's culture specific, so that if anyone who dies in, say, the United States goes to the United States Summerland. If you die in Africa, you go to the African Summerland. If you die in Thailand, you go to the Thai Summerland. Wherever you die, you go to their Summerland, and then your guide will help you go to the Summerland you intended to go to, your own cultural Summerland. But you want to go higher, because it gets ever more beautiful the higher you go. So if you are not, you can't go higher than the one that your own developmental energy will allow you to go to. You get battered by the energy. The energy is too intense. Let's say you can get to level 3, but you can't get to level 4 or level 5. You want to go higher. So therefore, you have to come back to the earth to grow spiritually in order to get to level 5. Above level 5, you can grow there in the afterlife, but you can't until you get to level 5. So you come back here with a life plan to grow spiritually some more. And that's the thing we forget when we come here. Why did I come back here? I don't have any idea. And that's the problem. So how can we grow some more? And we come back here with a life plan that we don't remember, and we need to just grow some more. Come to understand that your life really is eternal, and that the most important thing that you can do is to understand that your life is eternal. SeekReality.com is a website which has all the evidence that you need about what to do and how to do it to make this your last necessary Earth lifetime.